Okay friends, to get started, the first thing we're going to do is remove our radiator cap. There we are. Now the next thing we want to do is have a nice collection bucket underneath the passenger side wheel well, essentially in this area. We're going to come right up to this right here, and you can see I already have my pliers on the petcock. That's going to be the drain for the radiator. Let's go ahead and turn that counterclockwise and remove it. There we are. Let's let that drain into the bucket. To remove this, what you're going to find is you have 3 mounting bolts along the top here, and then you'll have 2 mounting bolts along each side. Let's remove them all. Now let's go ahead and get the breather hose off of here. You're going to find that it has a clip. Go ahead and remove that clip. There we are. Set this off to the side. Let's go ahead and grab one of these. We'll just wobble this around and get it right out of here. I'm just going to go ahead and remove these rubber bushings from the top of the radiator. Now the next thing we're going to do is remove the fan clutch from the water pump itself. To do that, I'm going to use this tool right here. Go ahead and get it onto the fan clutch nut down there. Turn it counterclockwise. All right, now as we spin this off, you want to be very careful not to let it fall down and hit up against your radiator. Now let's remove the lower radiator hose from the water pump itself. Okay, so now what we're going to do is remove our lower fan shroud here. To do that, I'm going to come right down along this area with my flat screwdriver, give this a little twist, and then I'm going to lift this up. Do the same to all 3 areas. Let's go ahead and get this out of here. With the fan shroud out of the way, let's continue on by removing this clamp from the hose. Go ahead and grab onto that hose, give it a nice wiggle, and draw it away from the radiator. More coolant will come out. There it is, friends. Okay, now it's time to get our lower radiator hose installed. All right, now that I have the hose all the way up, I'm just going to make sure that the clamp's sitting where it needs to be. Now let's go ahead and get our clamp inside of our pliers and have it nice and stretched. We'll get the hose kind of close to where it needs to go, put the clamp over the hose, and then slide it onto the radiator. All right, just going to turn that clamp so I can access it if I have to later. Perfect. Okay, now it's time to put in our lower fan shroud. Something that I want you to pay attention to is on each side, you're going to have a little nub, and in the center. Along this aspect of the radiator, you're going to see that it has the mounting points for those tabs. Let's go ahead and carefully get our fan shroud down and into here. You want to be very careful not to scratch up your radiator cooling fins. Now that we have this going down, we're going to line up those tabs. Once they're all lined up, we'll push it down. Make sure it's completely clicked in. Perfect. Okay, so now it's going to be time to get our fan and our fan clutch in here. Let's go ahead and slide it right down, line it up with the water pump, and then we'll go ahead and screw it on. Now that we have that spun on as far as it'll go, let's just give it a little bit extra with our tool. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and grab one of these. I'm just going to carefully slide this under. This right under here. Perfect. Now the next thing we want to do is reach down right between here. We're going to line up these holes and then put in our 2 bolts. Now our 2 bolts on the other side. Now let's go ahead and pull this and then put in our last 3 bolts across the center. Let's go ahead and put on our overflow hose. Got our little clamp. Just make sure it's nice and tight. Okay friends, now it's going to be time to fill our cooling system. There's going to be a couple different ways you can do this, either with a vacuum system that looks like this, assuming you have compressed air to put onto it. If not, just use a funnel that looks like this. That way there you can burp out any air that's in the system as we fill. The coolant that you're going to use to fill this would be Dexcool coolant. For me personally, I'm going to use universal coolant, which works for every type of coolant. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start up the truck. Something that we want to pay attention to is our heat gauge over here. I want to go ahead and turn this all the way to the hot position. I'm going to put this on level 4, and then of course we'll turn this. I'm going to put it on feet, but you can put it pretty much anywhere aside from on AC or defrost. Alright, so I just ran the vehicle until it's nice and hot. I had no more air bubbles coming out of here, so I'm going to go ahead and close this off. Now the next thing I want to pay attention to is the coolant reservoir over here. You want to, of course, open this up, and then you want to remove as much coolant from inside there as possible. If it looks like there's debris, you need to clean it out. Aside from that, the next thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and lift this up, bring it over here, and I'm going to fill up my reservoir with brand new coolant. Take this off of here, and of course, put on your radiator cap. Okay, now all you have to do is go ahead and take it for a road test.